And so, Tony, I want you to tell me, with the listings that we're selling and just the activity that we're seeing, in your opinion, right now, what separates the homes that when you go on that appointment and you get your price and your terms agreed upon, what separates a home that's going to sell from a home that you think it's going to sit and it's going to take a lot of extra work?
It's so market dependent, right? If you look at North Mount Pleasant, between $450 and $550, there's pretty much a home on the market every $1,000, right? So pricing almost in those cases doesn't even matter. What matters there is how attractive is your home to the market, right? Do you have the upgraded kitchen? Do you have the upgraded cabinets? Those types of things are what takes you from just being on the market at a certain price point to being the one that sells, right? So in this market right now, buyers are looking for ease. There's generally a little bit more inventory out there currently that they can go out and purchase. And frankly, buyers are a little bit more on the fence given the fact that they don't know where values are going, right? They're seeing values be a little bit flaky. And so they're a little bit hesitant to jump on making a purchase. And so in order to stand out, you're either going to have to price your property attractively enough in order for it to be the most attractive one out there, or frankly, you're going to have to be the one that has the upgraded kitchen, the $80,000 master bath, those types of things. Now, when we talk about that stuff, you have to analyze the cost of that because, frankly, sometimes it doesn't make sense to do that. It's better to pull it out of your equity, but that's a case-by-case decision.
Right. So when we walk through these homes, Tony and I do, we almost always get the question of what should I be doing to prepare my home to sell it? And I have to tell you that more often than not, I am not going to convince a seller to renovate their property to sell. There is a big difference between renovate and repair. Mm-hmm. Now, if we're talking about repairs, if we're walking through the house and you have the ability to replace something like flooring, and I walk into a bedroom and it's, hey, it's a bedroom that's had the same carpet for 20 years and it's looking pretty worn down.
Right, pretty ragged.
We're now approaching the stage where, in my opinion, it makes more sense to replace the flooring than it does to offer a credit because you're putting the work on someone else and they're going to look at other homes that already have the flooring replaced.
Absolutely. 2 years ago, you could offer a carpet credit or a paint allowance or whatever the case may be and get away with it. You could get multiple offers, no problem. Now, you really want to be having these things done prior to even putting it on the market so that you beat out the competition. Buyers are they're a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more tentative right now in this current situation.
Right. So it goes back to, let's look at all the homes that aren't selling right now. That they're on the market. They've been on the market longer than they theoretically should be. Mm-hmm. Some of them are priced well, and it's not so much a pricing issue. It's maybe not even so much a marketing issue because I know that at times I'm pretty hard on real estate agents on this show, and rightfully so. I'm not going to excuse myself on that, but in some of these instances, it's not so much a marketing issue. It's not so much a quote-unquote price issue. What it really is a value proposition issue. Mm-hmm. Is your home attractive enough to a buyer for them to say, you know what, I want to buy this house over this other home? And that tactic or that statement has to come with a caveat, which is that varies depending upon the type of home, the location of the home, and the price range of that home. Like if it's a $250,000 home in Somerville, let's be honest, it's not that complicated.
Right.
The marketing has to be there. The showings will be there, but you have to be priced appropriately, and you have to have it priced in comparison to the condition and the upgrades of your home. I mean, honestly, and I'm not trying to say anything other than when you do your job well and you've done it for so long, for us, something like that is fairly straightforward. I mean, we do it so much that it's our bread and butter.
Yeah, it's second nature at that point. But what we're seeing right now in this market, and really it's expanded beyond many of the other markets out there. Like, I mean, the North Mount Pleasant mid-range price has been a tough market for a while. But again, 2-3 years ago, you could get away with a whole lot more than you can get away with right now. Right now, you are facing buyers are hesitant to pull the trigger. You got Dave Ramsey out there talking about, it's better to rent right now. Gary Vee is talking about it's better to rent right now. I mean, you have buyers pulling out of the market just structurally, right? They're keeping interest rates low, and that's going to stay down, and that's going to induce demand. Sure, But that's a patch, right? And so what we have to do in order to sell properties, and what you as a seller has to do in order to sell your property right now, is you need to make it easy for the buyer. You need to make it easy for them to transact, right? If you're downtown and you happen to be on a street that's not in a flood zone, you need to make sure that that information is very well advertised, because that's something that makes it easier for the buyer to purchase, right? It's cheaper. Their payment's lower, right? If you can, there's opportunity zones. If you're on James Island and you happen to be annexed into Charleston, city of Charleston, those types of things matter. And a lot of agents frankly, let's face it, 90% of the agents out there probably shouldn't be in the business. Yeah. I think that's nationwide. We could have a much, much longer conversation about that. But these agents need to be doing their job of identifying that information that is going to matter to a buyer and making sure that's marketed. Sometimes that's more important than the pictures. That's more important than the price. That's more important than the number of bedrooms. You need to identify these little pieces of information that are going to make it easy for a buyer to transact and purchase. And
so we're getting into one of the things that I think we do really well, and that is, obviously, we do professional photos on every single one of our listings. And every home has bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and features, right? What we do is we really understand who that buyer is going to be. Who are the people that are going to be interested in a property like that? What are the things that they're going to be interested in? And we are not an expert in every single home in every single neighborhood in the Tri-County area. So that comes with asking the right questions of the seller. Things like, what is it about this community that you love the most? What is it that you think buyers are going to appreciate after having lived here for several years? It's about painting the picture for what that lifestyle is going to look like if you live in that home.
Well, it's very important to ask sellers that question, because sellers bought the house and buyers are going to be identical to the seller usually. Yeah,
and you can either move toward pleasure or you can move away from pain.
Right.
So you can talk about the things that buyers want to avoid, like really high flood insurance or being in the wind and hail pool or blah, blah, blah. But just kind of bringing this all back full circle to what should a seller be doing right now, using that analogy, you need to be reducing your plate size. You need to be very specific with the questions you ask of the agent that you interview to determine whether they really understand how to sell a property in a market that is shifting.
Yeah.
Because this is not the heyday, frankly, anymore. It is not the put the home on the market with a sign in the yard and a lockbox on the door and the MLS and just wait for people to drive up and make offers. If that happens now, let's just call it like it is. It's luck.
Absolutely.
We're in the right place at the right time. It's not like I created that scenario. There are a lot we can do to create scenarios like that over time with marketing, but the lucky sale that you get on day one is just is what it is. You're in the right place at the right time.
And when you're interviewing agents, that's why it's very, very important. Usually they say, right, you interview 3 contractors and you throw out the lowest bid and you throw out the highest bid. Frankly, now I'd probably throw out the 2 highest bids and go with the lowest one, because this market is shifting, right? And agents are, of course, they have a tendency to, inflate the truth. And yes, we can get that for you. And no, absolutely, we can get this price. As long as you're operating on the same, wavelength, right? We understand that we're going to try this price and it might be a higher price and we're going to move it down, whatever the case may be. But you need to be picking the agent that's most realistic with you. And frankly, I've lost listing appointments before because of it, because I'm, not warm and fluffy. I'm very realistic, and this is what the situation is. I'm here to consult with you and give you a guide about what's going on in this market so you can make the right decision, so you don't end up losing money, losing time. The mistakes is where you lose money in real estate. Sometimes the successes aren't really as apparent.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, we're talking with Tony Jamison, who is the listing agent for my real estate team. And if you'd like to learn more about selling your home with us, I invite you to give me a call. My cell phone number, which is obviously going to ring off air, is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. You can text that number as well, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, listingsincharleston.com, to learn more about who we are and what we do to sell real estate, some of the guarantees that we offer, and the fact that, frankly, we are a no gimmicks guarantee type of company. We're a straight shooter. We're going to tell you not necessarily what you want to hear, but we're going to deliver things in a factual way so that you can win in your transaction. So stick around. We've got a little bit more to talk about here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Tony, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks so much for having me.